So that's the door in place, resting at the bottom on 4mm packers, 4mm gap at the top. Now I got that to the right size by putting it in place with 4mm on the bottom, marking a line at the top and using an electric plane. But I'll show you that on the next door. So this is how to mark for the hinges. So slide the door up to the hinge positions and then just rest your knife on top of the hinge and then just make a mark, top and bottom, on all 3 hinges, or however many hinges you've got. Okay, then we're going to take the door off and cut out the hinges. Right, next step is to actually mark the door for the hinge so that we can then chop out and drop the hinge into the door. So the hinge has got 2 sides. This part has got 3 attachments to the barrel and this one's got 2. So the one with 2 goes on the door. So first step, find your little marks you made and just make them a little bit wider with your knife. Then we're just going to use the knife to mark around the hinge. Now don't butt the hinge up like that against the barrel. Use this little gap here and use this edge against the door. If you butt the barrel right up, any oil that leaks out will leak down the door. So hold the hinge in place. Now all you really need to do is mark the corners, and then we'll use a steel rule to join them up. Now just be aware that the knife will try and follow the grain, so just hold it firm and don't let the knife push the hinge off because it's trying to jump into the grain. So I'm just really getting the corner there. Okay, there, and we know that because we've got this mark, and we know the corner here because we've got this mark. So that should be enough. Now I can move on to using my square with a steel rule which is a lot easier than holding the hinge. Just give it a few passes, just breaking down the wood fibre. This also means when you actually start chiseling, you get a neater edge. Okay, that's my 2 sides. And I'll take this out of the square and join them up. It's just starting to rain. You can probably hear the rain on the metal roof. Okay. That's fine. So that is the hinge marked on the top of the door, or on the side of the door, lined up with that internal edge, with the side with the 2 attachments to the barrel. Next we've got to mark the depth. Right, now marking the depth is a little more tricky. So what we want to do is get a line on here, the depth of the hinge. So how far back that hinge is going to sit into there. So you could measure it mark it, measure it, or if you get a steel rule, hold it in place. That's flush with the top of there now. And then take your knife and right along underneath. Do a few passes again. And again, be aware of the grain and that the knife isn't being pulled into the grain. Like it is there. Okay, there you've got your depth marked. Now we can also, just to make that come out a bit more on camera, that's right there. Let's just run through that again with the knife and the steel rule. This door has just been oiled, so you can see these little flecks of oil coming off where I go through the surface. Okay, hopefully you can see that now. Just make that corner a little bit deeper. Let's try and lower the camera a bit. There. So we've got the depth marked on and we've got the hinge marked. So now it's time to move to the chisel. Right, so we have marked around the hinge with the knife. We've got our depth as well on the side. Next step is to chisel out this material so the hinge drops in. So I find it always better to use a chisel that's wider than what you're trying to remove. If you use one that's narrow, you can do it, but you'll have to go multiple times over here and you can end up with different depths. So first step, get your chisel in your score line. Give it a few taps. And we're just trying to break the fibres down. And this will probably take 2 passes, I think. And then we go in at the side. Now, just also one bit to note here, the grain is going across this way, slightly across here. So if we go in this direction, you can be dragging the fibres back. So it's best to go with the grain. So I'm just going that way. Otherwise, as you go deeper, you can pull the wood. Just into that corner there. Right, don't go too deep again, because otherwise this edge of the chisel will push the wood out. Right, so now we're going to start removing material. So you want to line your chisel up so your edge is just inside there. And probably do around about 3 or 4 mil at a time. And then just start. Try and do the same number of taps. And then each piece will be about the same depth. Just keep working your way back. Now, not that I will on this piece, but also keep an eye on the side and and just make sure you're not going too deep. But I think this will take 3 passes. Just try and, you know, not damage this edge. But if you just stay inside it, you can get quite accurate pretty quickly. Just keep working back, and when you get to the last one, just go just before that line. So now I've got these. You can see they're just about to come out on their own. So now just go in, just use the chisel just to flick those out. Now when you're working the chisel like this, put your thumb on top, make sure your fingers are back, don't have it like that, because if you slip, cut you through your finger. So we're now just taking out these little pieces that we just chopped through. Just working back. Try and keep it roughly flat. Try and not break that edge. Okay, that's the first pass done. That last one just take out. Right, so we're about halfway down, so now we've got to do exactly the same again. Now, I'm just looking on the side here and I can just see the depth that I want. Same again, because the grain's going this way, I'm starting on this side and just angling the chisel a little bit, not too hard though. Just going a bit deeper. Do this end as well. And here I'm trying to get this now down to the depth that I've got on this side, which is about there. And now we go same again. And I'm looking at the side. Just flick there to that side, see if you can get that in. So you can see here, I'm just coming down to where this score line is on the side. Just so that, just keep an eye on that now, and don't go too deep. Okay, then just keep working your way back. And you can see again, now on the second pass, this edge of this chisel, nicely up against that edge. So I'm looking, as I'm working, I'm keeping an eye on this edge and the bottom. Dylan said to me earlier, who's doing my camera work, how's that accurate? How are you going to make that accurate? Well, this is how you do it. It's a bit like how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So keep working back. Getting towards the end. Be a bit careful at the end, because what you don't want to do is damage this edge that you've preserved nicely. So let's give that another little tap. Another little tap there. Just run, oh, went the wrong way against the grain. Let's go run this way again. Right, so now again, now what I'm doing is using that edge as a reference line and just going in again, just removing all of those, but trying to think now about the bottom being flat. So I'm working that in, keeping my fingers out of the way. That's your disclaimer, health and safety, keep your fingers out of the way. So just twist the chisel in. Just if you try and do that, it's quite difficult. If you use a twisting action, you can use the shearing action and actually remove the material easily. Right. So again, I'm just using that edge that I can see at the front as a reference, seeing whether there are any high points like there, just taking them out. In that corner. It's nearly time to try the hinge. What do you think, Dylan? Try the hinge?
Yeah.
You think? Okay, it's a bit high. Ah. It's a little bit higher. So just keep going on that side. So, still a bit higher. So, it's not high enough, so I need to do another pass. I can just pare back the wood using this technique. Okay. Let's try that. Okay, that is pretty good. So that is pretty flat there, pretty flat there. And if we go along this edge here, we've got the gap between there, the barrel and the frame. Right, last step. Use a bradawl and mark right in the centre of the holes for the hinge. Make sure you've got the hinge with the side of the hinge with 2 connections to the barrel. Now try and get these right in the middle, because if they're off centre you can pull the hinge out of all the work you've just done. Then just a little pilot hole. Don't want to go too much. And that is just enough to take the middle of the screw out. This is just a quick change bit. It's a bit too quick change. Okay. Offer up your hinge. Fold it down so it stays in place. Then, on not too strong a torque setting, I've got this on about 6. Just put the screws in. So you can see there that did pull the hinge slightly. So just back that off. Put this one in. Last one in. That's it, and then tighten them all up. That's the hinge on. Now, there we go. So that's it, hinge in place. Do the rest of them, and then this side goes onto the door. So there's another video I'll post over here where I actually hang the door. So that's how you put the hinge on. Next video, hanging the door. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you then.